Hi, I'm David,
Hi, I'm Marshall.
and I'm with that Book Talk couple. And today I'm interviewing the owner of Beans Books. How you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Man, I'm doing fantastic.
Great.
Little
Yeah,
rainy, but
definitely.
sun's coming up.
Yep.
But like I said, we're here in Pickles Gap Village in small town Arkansas.
Yeah.
This has been an ongoing series where I find local small bookstores, which was a dying breed for a long
Oh yeah.
time. You know, I grew up in the era of bookstores everywhere, and then they kind of disappeared, and they're making this resurgence. And I've made it kind of my mission in my life to find these local places and give them the love they deserve.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
Marshall, tell us about Beans. Why
Yeah.
Beans? Why
So,
Beans? What a name, right?
yeah, Beans is my dog. Her real name's Beignet, but we call her Bean for short. And growing up, I got her in fifth grade. And so she was always my reading and writing buddy growing up. And so when I was thinking about like having a mascot for the store and someone that like could connect with people, I'm like, well, there's no better person than the person who's been with me with my reading and writing journey. So yeah.
Awesome. Everybody loves good pet hero, you know.
Yeah,
That's one of the number one rules, right, in writing. You got to keep the pet alive, right? So
definitely. Yeah,
we're
yeah.
definitely keeping Bean's memory
Uh-huh.
and, obviously alive and well, doing
Yeah, yeah.
fantastic, alive with us here. And let's talk about here. What a cozy place.
Oh yeah.
How did this place come about? Tell us a little bit about
Mm-hmm.
how you found this
Mm-hmm.
place, kind of what started it, and then we'll jump a little bit more into your background.
Yeah. So I actually used to live just like a couple miles north of Pickles Gap Village, and I drove by it every day as a kid. We went here a couple times, but over the past couple decades or so, it's just really kind of gone down in quality. There weren't a lot of visitors around, and I think it was around in 2020 that it was bought by a couple, Bill and Kathy Brown.
Okay.
They bought it up and completely gutted the whole place, have redone pretty much every single building here now. And so like they had Doc's Coffee was their first, and they completely tore up the inside, built it up from the ground up, and they've done that with all these other places. And what we're in now is basically a little wedge that was between two buildings that they just kind of put a wall and a door on for storage, and just kind of sat there for the longest. And I kind of came around and was like, hey, that could be a neat little bookshop in there. So that's kind of the dream, really.
So you say it's the dream,
Uh
right?
huh.
We talk about my journey quite a bit of reading and growing up.
Hmm.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about you? When did
Yeah.
when did books become the thing for you,
Oh
Marshall?
man. Basically since day one. I mean, my dad would read us books. He read us Goodnight Moon was like our favorite back when me and my brother were small kids. I remember when we were first able to use the library in kindergarten. I wanted to be the first one, and I wasn't. I was super mad about that. Yeah. And so I was just always a driving passion for me. I love creating stories with my friends, like little comic books we stapled together. Basically, it was the way I found I could express stories. I could express things I wanted to see in the world through books, and I never really left that. I ended up double majoring in English and creative writing in college, and so books kind of carried me through my entire education, whole life so far. So I couldn't really imagine a life without them.
Awesome. So you said you studied books,
Mm-hmm.
English, education, and stuff. Where did you do that? Tell me a little bit about that
Yeah,
journey.
I went to UCA, University of Central Arkansas.
Okay.
I just graduated last May in 2024, and
And
so
now you're owning a bookstore
yeah,
and
pretty
running
big
and
jump.
operating.
Yeah.
That's not a small feat. What
Yeah.
what was that like? Tell me about how that
Oh man.
process kind of came about.
Yeah, so coming out of college, I knew I needed a career path, and so owning a bookstore is always kind of the dream in a way. I always wanted to do it right. I wanted to take what I loved about my favorite bookstores and bring it all into one. And so we tried, me and my brother, we were kind of working in tandem at the time. We were trying to be like, can we buy an older bookstore business, or should we just kind of make a new one? And we kind of ran into a lot of closed doors here and there. But eventually, his girlfriend actually started working at Docs, and so we came here
Okay.
often to do schoolwork and all that. And I saw this little corner shop, and I thought, well, there's a place that'll be pretty cheap to start. It's in a lovely spot that I'm familiar with for living so close
Mhm.
by. Um, and so I talked with Miss Kathy, who I saw at the coffee shop one day, and she kind of put me to the test. Maybe get a lot of business plans
Mhm.
to show where the bookstores can still survive in the modern day. And she agreed to it, and we announced the store in March of 2024 and launched July 1st. So
Yeah, and it's been pretty warmly received,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I know for me, I live not too far away from here, and I
Uh-huh.
remember seeing the sign go up,
Uh-huh.
and I was super excited to come by because being an avid reader, we do have a Barnes and Noble, or not a Barnes and Noble, a Books a Million
Yes.
here in Conway, and it's great.
Yeah,
Don't
I love it.
please don't take this the wrong way, but there's something about coming into a small bookstore, like the love, the care, the passion that
Definitely.
really like bleeds through, and you can feel it in here. I'm gonna give y'all a quick tour, and we're gonna kind of walk around, and we're going to talk about some of the features and some of the unique places that Marshall has really brought to life. Because for a small little corner place, this has got cozy written all over it. So I'm super excited. So let's take that walkabout.
Right, so here's the outside of the store. We have our 2 windows for displays. And one of our favorite features at the store is having the wardrobe, just like in Narnia, where you walk in and kind of go from the regular world outside to this more magical kind of place inside. So, yeah, let me take you in. And here is the store. As you can see, it's very kind of a cozy place, very woodland themed. That's always been my favorite. And growing up in Arkansas and in the woods, it's always kind of bled through into my life, and so I thought I'd bring it in here.
This is awesome. So let's start over here. What do we got over here?
Yeah. So this is our local author section.
Okay.
As you can see, we have a certain book right here.
Oh yeah. Let's see that one.
Yeah, and so this is where we love to promote people who are writing in the community. As a local writer and author myself, it's super important to me that we highlight these people because they can't get the same amount of coverage as the super mass market books can. And so having them right here is a great way for people to see them when they first walk in and when they walk out. I love having it.
And then we move on over here.
Yeah, so here's our fiction section. So here we have our classics, which is this whole shelf down to right here. This is one of our best-selling genres in the whole store. People love kind of going through here, getting books they read in school, getting books they might have missed out on, and just kind of entering in that canon of literature here.
Awesome.
And then moving over here, we have kind of our regular, more literary fiction in these shelves. Oh, and here's our romance section right here. And so it kind of goes from this down here all the way along that bottom shelf, and that one is also tremendously popular. So this
I would say romance has definitely been a genre that has really blown up in the probably the last 10 years, and I think a lot of that is attributed to Book Talk.
Definitely. Oh my goodness.
And I guess how's Book Talk like influenced you here and helped you out here?
Basically, whenever we see kind of like one of those classic Book Talk books, we're snatching it up every time because we know that's going to be out of the store within a week.
Awesome.
And we see a lot of those even coming in a lot more than a lot of regular fiction books or other kind of big genre titles. So we're really excited that Book Talk is bringing a lot of readers back to reading, back into new genres they wouldn't have otherwise been interested in.
But let's look at this. I love this. So this is the children's section.
Yes.
And we moved around a few things. There were some stumps here on the ground.
Right,
but this is like so fun. Who came up with this design?
Whenever we first got the shop, I was like, I want a tree in here. I was inspired by like the Barnes and Nobles. They had the 100 Acre Wood kind of stage area in their children's section. And so this was actually all my parents. They got these limbs up here from their house in Pea Ridge, and they helped hang them with the leaves and the fairy lights. And this right here is just spray foam on a couple of like cement tubes and like an old poster bent back that away.
So cool.
And so like we had like all these sprayed down with like a base coat of spray paint. My mom went back and added a bunch of details here. Then we decorated it with these vines and got the letter Children's in the same kind of font as the other signs. And it came together beautifully. It was one of the last things we got done in this. Our fantasy section, by far probably my favorite section of the store. I always go straight to the fantasy section when I go in a bookstore, and so I'm super proud of our selection here. It's stuff that I love, that other people really love, and we try to make sure, since it's not that too huge of a section, that we really kind of cherry pick the best of the best here. And so we always keep in stock, the classics. We have Tolkien at the bottom, Sanderson right here, Robert Jordan, of course, and we usually get a lot of Sarah J. Maas stuff, and it goes pretty quickly, so we don't have too much. But yeah, absolutely my favorite section. I love looking at it from the desk back there. So
awesome. Now I do want to point out some of these. So I saw these on your social media page.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about these.
Yeah, so these are the newest edition we have in the store. They are rebound books by a person named Bound by Emma in St. Louis. I saw her on Facebook Marketplace selling her stuff, and I reached out to her. I'm like, hey, would you want to consign some of your books here? And she jumped on the opportunity. We're actually the first bookstore to ever carry these kind of books from her, and so they are absolutely gorgeous. They're rebound. They have sprayed edges, original designs, gold, all in there. Just holding them makes it feel like a real kind of tome of a book. We just love them.
Awesome. So you got a lot of Star Wars, so
Yeah.
we're keeping up with our Star Wars fans.
Yeah, definitely. This is our sci-fi section. It's kind of broken up here, but we had a bunch of Star Wars books come in, and that section's always been kind of growing. We had kind of some more classic sci-fis up here, like Dune, and Michael Crichton and stuff. And then down here is our horror section,
Okay.
which is mostly just Stephen King, because we get a lot of his stuff in. And our maintenance guy, Paul, massive Stephen King fan, has done like custom covers and stuff
Way cool.
with his books here. So yeah, we love having those.
And then what do we have here?
This is our mystery and our thriller section. Mystery is also one of the big ones that have kind of emerged from the book talk kind of rise. People love going to the mystery section and getting the more contemporary books that are coming out. And in thriller here, we have a lot of the classics that you'll see, like the John Grisham's, James Patterson books like that. Section doesn't get too much love, but we love having them just because there's always an audience for them. There's always an audience for so many different kinds of books. So.
And then I love this little nook back here.
Yes.
Just a quiet little place for people to come
Yeah,
back and
definitely.
study.
Yeah, and so back here we have our reading nook. It has a lot of original art by one of the artists we have in here, Miss Karen Samuel. And we also have back here an article that was written about the bookstore in the UCA Echo. We also have some original poems that I did back in college, kind of
Very cool.
splattered through here, just because I thought it was a good way to get my work out there and have something to look at for the people while they're out here. And then this is the play I wrote for our high school senior play of Sherlock Holmes and the Case of the Mariner's Wraith. And so that's always been like a big stepping stone in kind of my progression as a writer and a lover of stories. So I thought it'd be perfect to have back there.
Awesome. And then down here, it looks like we got history, business, kind
Yes.
of some of the nonfiction
Yeah,
over
yeah.
here. So, any favorites over here? Is this kind of the smart people? Reading?
Yeah, this is actually my brother's business shelf. So he runs Arkansas Rim, which is a real estate photography business, and so he kind of curates this section. It's a lot of business books, a lot of Dave Ramsey stuff he really loves, and I'm not too knowledgeable about, so I'm glad I have him helping me out with that. And so yeah, right here we have history on these three shelves, biographies that go down to here, and then our nonfiction on these top three. A lot of different topics and stories here that maybe aren't the most fascinating to like a fiction reader like me, but to some people that's all they read, and so I'm glad we can always have that for them.
Absolutely. Well, I love the diversity that you have in here. A large supply of different genres of different works. I think if you're here in the local, or if you're visiting the Central Arkansas area, this is definitely a store you should swing by and check out. And it's been absolutely fantastic being able to kind of walk around and talk about your journey, your store.
Sure, yeah.
And I thank you so much for your time.
Of course, yeah. Thank y'all for stopping by.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
So tell me a little bit more about this event that's coming up on
April 12th. Yeah.
April 12th. So tell me about it.
Yeah, so this is our Author Fest event. It'll be the first event that Beans Books holds out here in the village. The village is known for doing a whole lot of events, like Doc's Coffee and the Knife Shop we put on a bunch. But this is the first one since we're one of the newer shops. We're having our kind of inaugural event here. And it came about because we had so many authors who wanted to come hold events in the store, and we just didn't have the time or like the staffing to have all that. And so I decided, what if we had just a whole bunch of them at once out kind of in the surrounding kind of oval between all the villages. And people seem to love it because we filled up in roughly a week. We got 45 authors and vendors total. And so it's going to be an absolutely huge event. I believe it's the biggest in Pickles Gap Village history.
Awesome.
And so it is going to be a big deal. And so we hope Dog can make it out. There's going to be, like I said, a bunch of local authors, vendors selling kind of bookish goods like candles, journals, pins, stuff like that. And we're also going to have a pop-up menu over at Doc's Coffee.
Oh, way cool.
Yeah, and so I helped design it. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm not even that big a fan of like certain things like chai or matcha, but they're so good. Like I'm going to keep ordering them after the fact. And then we're also going to have live music from a few different musicians,
cool.
A food truck, and we're going to try to have a few special releases here. We're still kind of working on those, but it's going to be an absolutely huge day for like any fans of reading or just kind of wanting to be out in the community and seeing what Central Arkansas writers have to offer. So we hope you can make it out.
Awesome. And again, what was the date on that?
April 12th.
And it's going from
9 to 5. On that
9 to 5. So again, y'all, this seems like an awesome time, especially if you're here in Central Arkansas. Whether you're driving through, visiting family, live locally, wherever, you should definitely come check it out. A lot of people are going to be here. Lots of good food, lots of good times, lots of good music, and again, for all the bookish people, lots of stuff to read.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Marshall.
Of course.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.